Hello, Lose Weight with Macros family. Welcome to a brand new episode of Lose Weight with Macros, the Basics podcast with me, your host, Verona. Get your notepad and pen because today's episode, my friends, 3 life-changing tricks for the most common macro counting mistakes is for you. Hello, Lose Weight with Macros, the Basics podcast family. I'm your host, Verona. And if you're new here, welcome to the show. I'm a nutrition coach who believes in the power of real life tools to create healthy habits. I help busy women like you get rid of the stress and emotional eating that keeps you from creating resilient, lifelong habits that, quite frankly, you can trust. Instead of giving you another boring diet or workout plan or bland salad and tell you just to eat a whole heap of salad leaves while your family chow down on your favorite meals in the corner and you are regretfully eating that bowl of dry salad, I'm gonna help you learn how to use macros to lose fat, keep it off, and rebuild that confidence that diets often strip us of. That insecurity, that fear, that no longer feeling confident in our bodies that we know we need to get rid of. Friends, if this sounds like your cup of tea, grab your tea, your coffee, and your notepad and pen because today's episode, friends, is gonna be a juicy one. So, my friends, we are straight into today's episode. Have you set any New Year's resolutions? Now, years ago, I used to set resolutions, but one of the things that actually deterred me from setting these resolutions is when I failed them. Now, my New Year's resolution always used to be I need to lose weight. Now, if you're like me setting the same New Year's resolution, how demoralizing and discouraging is it when the end of the year comes and you actually haven't lost any weight, but you've gained the same weight that you did happen to lose, and then it added tax and added more? How discouraging is that? It's so discouraging that we actually pop open a bottle of Coke, pop open a bottle of Dr. Pepper or whatever it is that you like, and open a family-sized bag of crisps. Now, we don't have Lay's over here. The equivalent here is Walker's Sensations Thai Sweet Chili. I would bury my head in that, and then I'd have some ice cream and top that off too. I knew in the back of my mind, we all know that we should not be eating those things, but in that moment, that emotional eating actually comes and it comforts us. But the reason why we do this and the reason why we get caught up in this emotional eating cycle, which is what I'm helping you come out of in this podcast, giving you actionable steps that you can go and implement today. I'm giving you the same strategies that I have used and my clients actually find results in. And now today I'm only giving you 3, but the rest are in focus on the fat loss. If you're somebody who wants to focus on how you can lose fat specifically, then the 8-week group coaching program is where you want to be, where I'll be digging into this more throughout the program. But today I'm going to give you 3 mistakes that we can often make when it comes to tracking macros and how you can no longer make those mistakes. But when we get to those resolutions, it's so disheartening when we get to that place and we're like, oh my goodness, I just haven't lost any weight. And where we bury our heads in the food, and in the back of our mind, we know that we should be eating healthier. I shouldn't really be finishing off this packet of crisps. But what actually happens is the neurological pathways in our brains are hardwired to send us to that particular thing or particular person when we're having a stressful or emotional time, which is why we often find it so hard to navigate and come away from that. In the Ditch the Yo-Yo Dieting masterclass that I'll be doing, I'm giving you the full end of that, the full aspect of that, and we're uncovering that a whole lot more. Now, that was just an introduction, but it's so key. I've been there, and I've been there. My clients have been there in that yo-yo dieting. Why do I always turn to food to help me when I'm stressed? And we're uncovering that psychologically because there are all sorts of things that happen in our minds and our bodies and our memories and all of those things that happen to us psychologically and also physically that happen. Do you notice when you happen to open that bag of crisps, you're actually like a whole weight has been lifted off your shoulders? When the crisps are finished, do you also notice that those feelings or the things that you were just getting temporary relief from comes flooding back, and 10 times worse because you feel guilty for ransacking that packet of crisps? My friends, I have actually been there. And even if you're tracking macros, these things can happen. Macros, whether you're doing Weight Watchers, whether you're tracking points, whether you're tracking your calories, whatever you're doing, this can happen in that place. But it's important for me to empower you and encourage you that you can come out of that guilt cycle. Some of us know we need to do it, but we just don't know how to do it. So as the intro says, it's exactly what I'm helping you do as your behavior change nutrition coach. So when it comes to macros, I have a confession to make. I'm a big fan. You can call me a nerd or a geek of macro counting. And one of the things that I love to do is I love helping women to do this successfully. But as much as I love macro counting, I also see so many women make the same mistakes over and over again. Now, this isn't to throw shade. This isn't to be like, oh my gosh, haha, you're making a mistake. This is to help you. It's nothing to be calling you out. But when it comes to macro counting, we've all made mistakes. I made mistakes, and there are other women who have been on past people who have been on Focus on the Fat Loss who have made mistakes, and we discussed them in the live coaching. We could all use a little help from your friend. Mistake number 1: not tracking your macros for an entire day or even longer. Now, how many of you have done this? If you're new to macros, you might not know what I'm talking about. You can go and grab my 5-minute free guide to macros. This gives you an overview of what macronutrients are and whether or not they're the right approach for you to use in your body and in your fat loss journey. Because what happens is we tend to latch on to what everyone else is doing, and we think it should work for us, when actually our body's like, boo boo, I don't like that. I don't like it. Can you stop doing it? But we don't know how to tune in to those cues, so we just go along with the ride, and then we get frustrated when we're seeing fat just melting off Sally, and meanwhile we're gaining the fat that she seems to be losing. And it's like, well, what gives? What are you doing? Why are you getting these results? We're both doing the same things. We've got a similar age. We've had children a similar age. Why are you losing the fat and I'm not? And then lo and behold, we go back to the emotional eating that turns on the stressors in our body, and then we keep repeating the same mistakes. Then we're like, wait, what's going on? But why are you trying to do something that's not working for you? This is, again, we're going to go through it in the January the 23rd, which is the Ditch the Yo-Yo Dieting Masterclass. We're going into the whys and the how not to. And sometimes it's okay if you fall into the trap and you do it over and over again, because this is what we're doing. We're building habits. We're uncovering these root causes, and then we're building sustainable, healthy habits to overcome those things. And that's going to take time. And the type of woman that I work with knows that it takes time, and she's willing to do whatever it takes and willing to go however long it takes to get the work done, because she is sick and tired of being in this yo-yo dieting cycle. And I'll tell you the truth, this is not for everybody. This coaching, the macro coaching, the behavior change coaching is not for everybody. Some of you will say this is too expensive, and I'll reply back to you, yes, it is expensive, but what are you comparing it to? If you're comparing it to the price of McDonald's or etc., then it's always going to be expensive. Your health is always going to be seen as an expense and not an investment. And I'm not here to convince anybody to do that. That's not my role. You have to make the decision and the choice. What are you worth? Anyway, mistake number 1, not tracking your macros for an entire day or longer. This is the biggest mistake that women make when they start tracking their macros, because it's easy to think that you don't need to track your macros for more than 1 day or 2, right? But what happens if you take a break from tracking, especially if you've just got started? What happens is you might not notice it immediately, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. It's going to catch you. And then it will be harder than ever to turn things around, because you won't know where you started or what happened along the way. Now, Focus on the Fat Loss, we're talking about this particular thing, because what comes after this is the self-sabotage and the I should have done this and I should have done that. And you have a hard time finding answers, because you're like, well, what's happening for me? Because then you end up getting into this cycle where you're always looking for just the right diet that will get you just the right results that you want, and it's got to be done quickly. And if it isn't working the way that you want it to, you're off. You haven't got time for this. You're trying to then go and find, you literally become a hopper. You hop from diet to diet. You jump from diet to diet, a diet jumper, diet hopper. You got like a free track record by the amount of jumping skills that you develop from the type of diets that you go to. Again, no shade here, friends. This is exactly what I did. Keto wasn't working for me. I'm like, nah, we don't want keto. Let's do Beachbody. Nah, Beachbody's not working for me. Let's do this. Let's do Whole30. I considered all of these fad quick fixes. I did the slimming teas that just, girl, let me tell you, they didn't work. But when you're doing this and you're not tracking your macros for an entire day, one of the things that we cover in Focus on the Fat Loss is breaking down how you can make your macros work for you, because so often we're looking at what everybody else does. Mistake number 2, not tracking your macro ratios correctly. This can be really frustrating, because it can seem like you're losing weight when in reality you're just not eating enough protein or carbs. And for you, you're still in that mindset where the carbs are the enemy mindset. And I'm going to be honest with you, this takes a while for you to navigate, especially if this is something that you've believed for a long time. Now, when it comes to carbs, when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to diets, we've all believed an incorrect thing about weight loss. Even I believed it. Somebody close to me who had never seen or felt or experienced what it's like to be overweight a day in their life. I tell you the truth, no lies. No lies. No lies out here. So how can they be telling me I need to cut out carbohydrates to lose fat? It's because they got this nonsense from somebody else who got it from somebody else who got it from somebody else. And then it came down to me. And then I believed, this must be it. Carbs are the enemy. You are the one that's causing me fat. Now, when it comes to apportioning blame, we are good at doing that. We are so good at doing that. We get better at blaming somebody else or something else rather than actually looking internally and seeing, could it be my issue is when I get stressed, I turn to food. When I get happy, I turn to food. When I get sad, I turn to food. When I get emotional, when I'm hormonal, I'm food. Food is constant for me. Could it be that that's the problem? But then you go to a diet and a diet says to you, no, girl, if you... The carbs are the problem, okay? The carbs. They don't tell you about sweet potatoes. They don't tell you about oats, which are amazing. I have a bowl of those every single morning. I never used to like them, but I now love them with some strawberries and some chocolate. Girl, you better make yourself a bowl of oats. Some complex carbohydrates, some fruits and vegetables. But the diets are telling you to cut them out. Why? Why are they telling you to cut them out? Because they want to get you to keep coming back to them. You investing in their, if I swore, I'd enter a swear word right there. But they want to get you invested in their nonsense and they want to take a coin. And that's it. Unless you're somebody who's able to maintain that weight without them, and there are very few that are able to do that. They are the minority as opposed to the majority. But the majority believe the lie that they're fed. And the more you tell yourself a lie, the more it becomes a false truth. And that's what happens is we hear that from the grapevine. Na, 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 na. And then we take that on as if that's truth. And then we internalize that and be like, oh my gosh, I'm the problem. Look at you. You're so fat. You're never going to lose weight. You're so stupid. Why can't you just stop eating the carbs, you fat? Whatever it is that you call yourself. It's not nice, is it? If your daughter came around and you started hearing, you thought she was playing with imaginary friends or, talking to her dollies or, mimicking, but she's actually mimicking the words that you continue to say to yourself about yourself. How would you feel? Now, I know I'm still on macros mistake number 2, but how would you feel? The point I'm making here is we've got to check where we're getting that information from. And oftentimes when we're getting information, it's not correct. Now, don't mishear me. Don't hear what I'm not saying to you here. I'm not saying, well, I'm the font of all knowledge. I know everything. Absolutely not. I'm learning. However, one thing I do know through experience, I definitely know that diets are not it. Diets, the definition, when they get you to restrict yourself from food in order to lose weight, it's not it. If that was it, then nobody would be obese. I wouldn't be a macros coach. I wouldn't be a behavior change nutrition coach. There would be no need for us because we would solve it just by going on a diet, just by restricting ourselves from food. But we know that doesn't work. So instead of that, we've got to uncover these things. So I'm giving you a big sneak peek as to how we dig into the mindset portion of Focus on the Fat Loss, how we dig into the mindset portion when we're working on a one-to-one. You've got more of my time on one-to-one and we're digging deep. We're digging deep into where does that mindset and that belief come from? How does it make you feel? And how we can overcome it. So we're giving you actual practical steps. It's not no wishy-washy here. That's why I can't take on everybody. That's why if you're not ready for this investment, then this coaching might not be for you. And so when we're not tracking macros correctly, it can get really frustrating because it can seem like you're doing quote unquote everything right. But in reality, there's a miss here. When you're not tracking your macros correctly, then there is no way for you to know if what you are actually doing is working out or not. Mistake number 3, not tracking your macros for the right amount of time. Now, we want results and we want them yesterday. So when you're getting into this habit where I'm like, well, I haven't lost any weight, it's only been a week, let's kind of retrain our mindsets. And why do we feel that we have to get those results yesterday? Where is that expectation coming from? Now, this isn't a mindset episode, but this is just how I'm teaching. Now, when you're not tracking your macros for long enough, this is another common mistake that people make. Because if you're only tracking your macros for a week, it's definitely, it's nigh impossible for you to see results because you still can't see if there's a pattern to see what this happens. Because let me explain this. Macros, if you're new here, I didn't even finish giving you the website. Download the 5 free. If you're new to macros, you don't know what they are, then download the free guide over at vanutritioncoaching.co.uk/macros, and that gives you the whole breakdown of whether or not this strategy is right for you in terms of your goals. But if you're tracking macros for a week and you're expecting to see amazing results, you're going to get disappointed because those expectations are rather aloof. And it's going to be hard for you to see if they're working or not, because the reality is that we don't often like addressing is it could take weeks or even months before you start seeing results. Now, Now, focus on the fat loss. If you're coming with the expectation, right, Verona, fix my fat loss, this isn't for you. Now, the best way for you to see if your macros work is for you to start tracking them at least for 3 months. Now, macros tracking keeps you accountable for your food choices. You're going to get real with yourself. Many of us run away from that, but we've got to run to it if we want our fat loss to last. Many of you have experienced weight loss before, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 50 pounds. Great, fantastic. So the issue isn't that you cannot lose weight. The issue is how to maintain that weight and work on your mindset and keep that mindset for the long haul. That's what we're doing in Focus on the Fat Loss. So the big mindset portion of the program is teaching you how to do that. And when you're learning how to do this for 3 months, it's covering holidays and hormonal season, it's covering menopause, it's covering those things in terms of tracking for success. Now, if you don't see any results after that time period, then there are things that you can start to do. And that's what I'm talking about in Focus on the Fat Loss, that we cover how to track that. And is that what is she talking about? vanutritioncoaching.co.uk/focus is where to go. And those are the 3 mistakes. But one of the things that I just want to encourage you is don't stress about it. We can get stressful about so many different things. That when we're stressing, if you're somebody who is used to the behavior, when you get stressed, you eat. This is something that you're going to learn and unlearn why you're doing those things. But it's easy for me to say don't stress about it. I know how stressful it is, but don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes we try to suffer and we try to do big and bad by ourselves, when in reality we need help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You're not weak. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of failure if you ask for help. If you're not tracking your macros right now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to track your macros right for the rest of your life. Ask for help. Take the L, take the lesson, and learn from it. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. Embrace the mistakes. I made mistakes too, I used to make macro tracking mistakes too. One of the mistakes that I would make was I wouldn't track the foods that I ate. If I ate McDonald's, I'd be like, well, I'm way over my calories. When you're tracking your macros, it's called accountability. So you're tracking your food regardless, whether it's McDonald's, whatever fast food that you've eaten, track it. The reason is you're becoming aware of your food choices. That's exactly why you're learning to track macros. And that, my friends, is the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed the show, I've enjoyed recording this. Don't forget, you can actually go to the website vanutritioncoaching.co.uk/podcast and be featured on the future episodes. So if you've got a question about any episodes, just ask your question there, submit a voice note and ask your question about the episode. So, hi Verona, this is about episode 177 and you said ABC. And then I will answer the question in a future episode. Or some of you may even get the chance to come up live and be coached by me. So my friends, if you've enjoyed today's episode, share it with somebody who needs to hear this message. 2023 is a year for no playing. I'm not coming to play. I'm coming to help change your life when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to macros. If you're ready for your life to change, your weight, your mindset, everything, and maintain it, then you're in the right spot, my friends. Don't bring a friend, pull up a chair, bring another friend to come and sit with you, or who also needs to hear this. Leave a review over on iTunes if you're loving what you're hearing, and don't forget to leave your suggestions over in the survey. If you're like, no baby, I don't like what you're saying, I've got some other suggestions that you could maybe talk about. Your voice matters here, your opinion matters here. This is for you. So this is it. Without further ado, I want to keep these episodes 15 or 20 minutes long, unless they're a faith episode, which they are a lot longer than 20 minutes. They're like almost an hour. But this is where I want to end, and I can't wait to catch you on the next one. January is going to be an amazing year. I speak it, I declare it, I believe it. Not just January, but right from January to December 2023. It is our years. And with that, friends, I'm out. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Friends, we've come through to the end of today's episode. I hope you learned something valuable from today's episode and can put it right into practice now that the episode has ended. If you found value in this episode, do share it with somebody else who can also benefit from today's episode. My friends, don't forget to download your freebies over on the website vanutritioncoaching.co.uk and also be in with a chance of coming live on air with me to get yourself some free Coach Fridays by leaving your question over on the brand new podcast page. vanutritioncoaching.co.uk/podcast is where you can leave me a question and I'll answer it over here on one of the episodes. And that's all we got time for, friends. I can't wait to catch you in the next episode.